Cephalopods, a deeper dive into the different families, genera, and species. The ocean is unbelievably vast. It covers more than 70% of the entire planet. The lack of effect from gravity and unique environments has allowed for many different species to evolve and come to be, but we are focusing on one group in particular, cephalopods. The class Cephalopoda falls under the domain of Eukarya, the kingdom Animalia, and the phylum Mollusca. Cephalopods are known for their tentacles, high intelligence, and camouflage, as they can change their skin tone and sometimes even texture. Today we will be focusing on the different species belonging to class Cephalopoda, starting with Thelmoctopus mimicus, otherwise known as the mimic octopus. The mimic octopus most definitely lives up to its name. It can quite literally mimic nearly anything. From a venomous sea snake to a harmless starfish, the mimic octopus has a wide range of disguises. To mimic a sea snake, the mimic octopus will tuck itself into a hole or crevice and let two of its black and white banded tentacles wander about as if they were venomous sea snakes. Unfortunately, even though these amazing creatures have such great survival tactics, they only live for a short period of time because of the mating and breeding process. During mating, the males hold on to the females and use their mating arm, called a hectocotylus, to insert a sperm sac, called a spermatophore, into the main body or the mantle of the female. The sac is placed in a holding area for a few months later when the female lays its eggs, which have been fertilized by the sperm in the packet on the way out of the female's body. The male dies a few months after mating, and the female dies a short time after laying eggs. But their efforts are not in vain. Just as the female octopus is about to die, the eggs start to hatch. Octopi are seen as the ultimate mothers, protecting their young from the day the eggs are laid to the day they hatch. They sacrifice their own lives in the hopes that the new generation will live on. And that closes our chapter on the mimic octopus, the master of camouflage, and the ultimate mother. Though the species is incredible, there are even more amazing cephalopods to see. So now we shall move on to Sepia apama, or the giant Australian cuttlefish. Cuttlefish are a rather special branch of cephalopods, as they have a completely unique bone that only cuttlefish have, called a cuttlebone. This special organ of theirs is a sort of buoyancy device to regulate the cuttlefish's buoyancy. Now, the giant Australian cuttlefish is unsurprisingly the largest cuttlefish species, and that size plays an important part in the mating process. Many males fight over who mates with the females, as there are significantly less females than males. The largest cuttlefish gets the privilege of mating with the female, but he isn't always the only one. Some of the smaller males wouldn't stand a chance in a fight against the largest male, but the smallest ones have a special tactic. The smaller cuttlefish is the same size as most females. With the ability to change color, it can change itself to look almost exactly like a female cuttlefish. Using this tactic, it can slip by the bigger male and meet with the female. Only one problem though. The bigger male, seeing the smaller male as a female, wants to mate with them now. But to every problem, there is a solution. The smaller male presents a white stripe on his side. In the cuttlefish world, this is a sign that the female does not want to mate. So, he slips past. Once together, the cuttlefish mate, and so the female has been fertilized by two males. This will make sure that the next generation is as diverse as possible. Once they're done mating, the smaller cuttlefish darts away before the large one could realize anything was wrong. And so goes the life of the giant Australian cuttlefish, where size does matter, but there are always ways to get around it. And with that, we move on to Nautilus pompilius, otherwise known as the chambered nautilus. The nautilus is a rather rare genus of cephalopods, though the chambered nautilus is the most common among them. It is called the chambered nautilus because its shell has up to 40 chambers, the largest holding all their internal organs. The life of a nautilus is rather strange, as it is born with a cartilaginous shell that gets harder over time and grows more and more chambers as it gets older. Another strange thing about the nautilus is their migration patterns. When we think of migration, we think of horizontal migration, across, but the way the nautilus migrates is rather different. Instead, it migrates vertically. It is very hard to find information on nautilus because not many people can find them in the wild, and they are very hard to keep in captivity. A few things we do know is that the vision is slightly impaired because the design of their eyes has not been changed for a couple million years and is therefore still very rudimentary. Although their vision is impaired, they do have some advantages. Most cephalopods only have about 8 to 10 tentacles, but the chambered nautilus boasts about 90 tentacles. And that ends our chapter on the nautilus. Unfortunately, there is not much information to give on them, because they are quite elusive, but we are still searching for information on them, and possibly even a way to simulate them in captivity. But for now, it is time to move on to Vampiroteuthis infinalis, otherwise known as a vampire squid. The vampire squid is found from 600 meters to 1,200 meters below sea level. We do not know much about its behavior because it lives at a depth that we cannot explore thoroughly, and therefore there is very little information on it, but I will provide as much as I can. One of the most interesting things about vampire squids is the way it defends itself from predators. What the vampire squid will do is wrap its tentacles around the rest of its body, encasing itself in its own tentacles. Some may even say it's turning itself inside out. Despite its name, the vampire squid is actually quite peaceful and not a predator at all. In fact, it's what we would call a detritivore, meaning it feasts on dead organic material. As with most deep-sea animals, the vampire squid has the ability of bioluminescence, meaning it can harness the power of light using biological chemicals. These bioluminescent spots are located at the head and at the tip of each tentacle. The vampire squid also has a storage of bioluminescent chemicals that it can squirt out at any time to deter predators. And so, although the vampire squid looks rather frightening and the name reinforces that statement, it is actually quite docile and only looking for a peaceful life among the sea snow. And so goes the life of a vampire squid. But we're not done yet. We have one more animal to go over, and it is my favorite animal in the entire kingdom. Please put your hands up for Architeuthis dux, otherwise, as you may know it, the giant squid. Although giant is quite literally in the name, this is only the second largest squid, second only to the colossal squid, though this one is longer. The colossal squid simply weighs more. There has been some controversy as to the etymology of the giant squid. Some scientists believe that there are actually multiple species of giant squid within the same genus. Of course, other scientists also believe that there is only one species within the genus. It is very hard to tell, considering there are very few recorded sightings. The current record for longest giant squid currently sits at 43 feet long, though some recent evidence from the stomach of sperm whales, who are proven predators of the giant squid, has led some scientists to reach the conclusion that wild giant squid can reach a length of around 66 feet long, though without a live specimen to prove it, this is currently still a pending theory. Because of its incredible size, there are very few predators in the ocean that could take on such a colossus, but there are a few, most notably, as I said before, the sperm whale. Sperm whales are the only proven predator of the giant squid, as they are the only animals where squid beaks proportionate to the giant squid were found in their stomachs. Another piece of evidence that supports the epic battles between the sperm whale and the giant squid are the scars. Sperm whales are often found with scars that look like they were caused by suction cups. Scientists believe that those suction cups belong to the giant squid. Though these creatures engage in epic battles, the squid rarely comes out victorious. Sadly, not much is known about the giant squid because there are so few specimens, most of which have been washed up carcasses. Almost all the evidence we have are secondary sources that have been tampered with. That doesn't stop today's scientists though. We are still looking for new specimens and new information on this majestic creature. And with that, we have covered every order of class Cephalopoda: Octopoda, Sepoidea, Nautiloids, Vampiromorpha, and Teuthoidea. So, we close the book on these amazing creatures. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you for watching.